talking about?
Oh, hi, Nofo. How long have you been here?
Just the game and the finale. I guess more the final 8 on since we did.
Then I can't really talk about that because I haven't been around.
Well, I mean, you can add your colorful commentary if you want.
Okay.
Nofo, are you happy with the final 3?
I am. I just wish, Jillian was going to win.
I don't think she's even going to get a vote, unfortunately.
I know, it sucks.
Yeah. I was hoping for when people were saying oh, Jillian's gonna make final 3 from the final 15 for her to get a vote or 2 just thrown at her.
No, they don't. That is the only thing that I find a little sad.
Charlie fucked this over when he chose to take Michelle.
That was very odd, but whatever.
I mean, he does give us technically the best winner, but
I was actually shocked Charlie didn't win. I thought Charlie was going to win for a while. But that's okay. Or maybe he will still win. Maybe, I don't know. There's still 5 votes still haven't gone in, but 4 of them that are in are for Michelle.
It's currently 4-1, right?
I think it's either, I think it's 4-1 or 3-1. I gotta look.
Reem's dominating the whole conversation, so I doubt it.
Oh well, that's okay. Queen Michelle. She's a good winner. I'm happy.
I would have fine with Charlie as a winner. Let's not waste content.
I'm sorry. I'm a big Stranded fan. I can't help but talk about it. I'm so happy, Nate, that your winner pick won, but also 7 of your other winner picks lost. So, it's like a...
What's wrong with me?
I believe my number is 17 and my winner picks lost.
I just checked my IMs and I have a message from Jillian that says, "Hey, you mad I didn't mention you? I'm sorry."
Yeah, it's in her confessional.
That's so funny.
Is Sarah mad because I didn't mention her in my speech? I'm sorry, I still love you. But I mentioned the main people who were in my confessional. Gary, of course. My second favorite host.
Gary. Second favorite host, Gary. Wow.
Not second favorite host, second favorite host. No T.
Oh, singular host.
Yeah, a Haas.
Haas.
Did you say that? I dislike hosts.
Oh my god.
Maybe. Let me go through the confessional.
Jillian iconic winner. I hope everyone flips at her amazing FTC.
All right, my shit's working finally. Okay, 30 days, 3 castaways left, 3 co-hosts, and 1 podcast. This is Stranded in the Kuril Islands, and I'm your host, Poody. Today we're joined by legendary players. Nate, who is a 4-time All-Star from Faroe Islands, most recently played on Australian Stranded and Isolated 4.
Yes, here I am.
We're also joined by Nofo, who's a 5-time All-Star, most recently on Australian Stranded as Shawnee.
Thank you. Yes, I did that.
And we're also joined by Ziggy, who's a 2-time All-Star, a winner, and most recently was on Australian Stranded.
Hello, the one and only. What's up?
So today we are going over where we left off at the final 8, and we're also going to do a bit of a recap of the season as a whole. We're not going to go through the whole season, but we're going to talk about our thoughts on the season since it's about to wrap ahead of the winner announcement. So I guess we'll start off with the final 8. At this time, I believe Maddie had just been voted off.
Yeah, Reem got 9th. Eric got 8th.
So this is... Yeah, hold on. We're all good. Great. We're all great hosts. Who came in 8th? Yeah, sorry. So this was after Reem was booted. This was after Jillian failed to play her idol on Reem that she said she would have done. I'm still not sure if that's true, but I saw it mentioned in her speech.
I want to talk about that because I don't know if I discussed that in my last podcast, but I feel like we have to, even though we're starting at final 8, but I'm talking about Reem's boot because it was so incredibly frustrating and demoralizing watching that. I mean, this season is such a roller coaster. We'll lose Susie and then it'll get back on track and we'll lose a guy like Devins. And then, we'll lose, somebody great like Reem. And then it bounces back and forth.
Yeah, not to spoil my overall thoughts on the season, but what I found really interesting is the parts that usually are boring in a newbie season, like when it becomes a little bit of a gong at the banging gig, or even the pre-merge, were some of the strongest parts of this season.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, really, the end game, which we'll talk about, has been the worst part of the season, but it's not bad. It's just, it doesn't compete with the earlier stages. But I think this Reem boot was really one of the last, I would say it's probably maybe the defining moment of the season. You know, I feel like everything kind of built up to that. And then afterwards, it's kind of, that was the peak, I think. And it's kind of hard to compete with. You know, the women finally come out on top by getting rid of Maddie. It feels like, well, they finally came out on top with Maddie, and then they decided to get rid of him, which I had said was a mistake at the time. And that proves to be correct here. Finally, they're in control. But of course, that sets them up for a pretty big blindside where we see Reem going home. More frustrating is that Jillian had an idol that she was going to play on Reem, and she did not know how to play it.
Even though she had witnessed, I think, 2 other idol plays, didn't she? Or what? Was she on the same tribe as Susie? Maybe she didn't see Susie play the idol, but
maybe not. But she saw Devins play his idol,
right?
I don't think she was on the same planet as Susie.
She saw at least one idol play, and she didn't like ask any hosts or I mean. What did she think was going to happen? She didn't say anything in tribal council. I don't quite understand. I don't even know if this is true. I don't even know if she really was going to play the idol. In the back of my mind, I don't think she was going to play the idol. That's what I believe.
Normally I would say you're right, that this was just like a bullshit excuse to make her feel better. But it is Jillian, so
it's true.
I kind of feel like she was.
If she said in final tribal council, I intentionally didn't play the idol, I would believe that, because I would be okay. She was just, plus it'd make me more like Jillian's game a bit more. Or, I have the ability to cut people.
Or even in confessionals.
She's been telling people. She hasn't even confirmed in confessional she didn't mean to play it.
Oh, no, she did. Immediately after. She was like, what the fuck? Where was the post that says... and then, like, Levita screenshotted it.
Love Levita.
I think it's naive to think that Jillian even realizes Susie or Eric or whoever the other one was, Devins. I think it's naive to think she even realized they played the idol. I think she was too busy jamming the cowboy emote.
Oh my god, the fucking cowboy.
And now on the tribal council thread, Jillian comments after the post.
Yeah.
Did she say like, I'd like to play something or no?
She said, oh wow, no questions for Jillian, ? And it's the one immediately after it was posted.
Jesus Christ.
Yeah. I mean, she is Philip Shepard confirmed in this situation. She's every lunatic GOAT entertainment final 3 contestant of all time.
Yeah, and I'd take a million of those over the people who are just dull.
Over Devins. No offense, Devins, who might be listening. Totally. I mean, she's been endlessly entertaining, even though, you got to take the good with the bad. Like, she saved Susie, and, she's had her good moments, but, like, of course she was
going to... That's a really big asterisk.
Really? If Sonia or Wanda made it to the end.
Yeah, she's pure entertainment for us. Like, I can't even imagine them playing would be super entertained by her, more than just frustrated.
Just so we never forget this happens, she took a photo of the idol with her phone.
Right.
And then uploaded it and then posted it.
Oh my god. But then she couldn't figure out how to post it during council.
Right.
Maybe if she took a photo of her finding the idol. If she took a photo of her photo of the idol.
Oh god.
And then posted council, that should have counted.
She has been a journey for sure, but I definitely, in regards to the reboot, that was like really one of the biggest Jillian disappointments that she didn't play the idol. It really felt like she was going to play it. She was saying she was going to play it, and then we're left with Reem 9th place.
Which, I mean, look, it sucked having Reem go 9th, but first of all, I went into council not banking on Jillian playing her idol on Reams. It was not like I was tremendously disappointed. It was infuriating afterwards for her to be like, "Oh, I was gonna play it," But
yeah,
there you go. I mean, that's Jillian for you. So I don't know. I think she's like a top character. I really do. I just think like, oh man, I would not want to play with her.
Yeah. I don't think Reem would necessarily be long for the game otherwise. If Jillian did play the idol on her, I think she's out 8th or 7th.
Right.
Her best case is forcing her off to the next round.
We had talked a little bit in the last podcast about how like the theme of this season was like these disenfranchised players that are neglected, and then that coming back to bite the alliances in the ass. And that's happened like consistently throughout the season. And I'm bringing it up again because that happens again and again, even after that point. You know, we saw it with Devon's turning on the men, and then we saw it with...
I think Ron was the biggest example, honestly. Lauren too, yeah.
Lauren turns on the women who neglected her in their alliance. Ron doesn't get a final deal from any of the women, so he flips. Maddie flips on the men and flips back. You know, it's like a consistent... The biggest blunder, I think, of this season was that people did not lock down these alliances and make people feel comfortable within them, and that's what costs everyone on the jury their game.
Yeah, the players that did not get that much respect from the other players were the ones who controlled it. The season was controlled by the sugars of the game, rather.
yeah, which is endlessly entertaining. Like, you would think... I think we have, like, 3 or 4 of those players this season, which is highly unusual. Like, we have Jillian, but then we also have Ron, Randy, Maddie, and even Lauren to a degree. Not as much, but...
Which, I think I said this at the beginning of last week through the Discord, but if you look at the final 8, what was really interesting is that in any other season, 4 of those players would be drawing dead in the final tribal council. You have Eric, who none of the women were going to vote for. You have Randy, who flipped on too much of the cast. Ron, who no one really respected. And Jillian, who no one respects.
Right.
And then of those 4, who theoretically you'd imagine would be 2 or 3 of the final 3, only one of them is there now.
Wow. And, you know, I think we started the game with men versus women, and then, you know, we were all excited because the women's tribe really turned out for us, and the men didn't. And then they started to get voted off one by one. And I think, you know, that actually contributed to why the pre-merge was so great. But it was a little bit terrifying as a host, because you don't want a season that you set up as gender divided to be a slam dunk against women. It's not a great look for us.
Yeah, so obviously Survivor Cook Islands when the white people all won.
Right, exactly.
But I think even more so than that, you ran the risk of it being a front-loaded season, because you had, you know, Crystal, you had Crystal, Jackie, all these amazing boots back to back at the very beginning, and I was worried, you know, this last half, the last stretch of the game, I was worried that was going to be boring, but luckily, the cast, you know, they came together. And
yeah, I think 2 things happened. I think the men that we were worried about, I mean, we knew when we casted them they would be entertaining, but for a while, since they didn't have to do anything, we were really worried a lot of those players would just either not show up or fall into the background. I'm pleased that once the women and the men commingled in the merge, the men started to come out of their shell a little bit. But also we lucked out in this boot order where, you know, sure, it could have gone better for us, but I mean, really, I don't know if it could have, because, you know, we got like women boot, then a man boot, then a woman, then a man, then, you know, 2 women, then 2 men. So really it was gender became a non-factor, which is really what we had hoped for. And I'm really pleased with how the season turned out. I mean, it couldn't turn out better, in my opinion.
Yeah, I absolutely love this season, and I'm really happy with the presumed winner. I don't know. Are we spoiling by saying who is probably going to win?
Well, we don't know, but we can say who we think will win.
I mean, I believe Michelle's going to win 100%.
Michelle is currently 4-1 up.
Yeah, she's got a lot of votes in already, and the speeches haven't even been posted yet. So,
well, let's just say she's the favorite going into this.
Absolutely. And she played a pretty strong game. I had a lot of worries for her early on, not so much in the pre-merge, but around the merge where she like ditched Lauren. I thought that was going to be the move that bit her in the ass, but she seemed to be doing pretty well. I mean, she had the idol. She had a couple shields in front of her with people like Reem and Susie. So I do think a lot of things ended up working out well for her, and I do think she's a pretty good winner if she wins.
Yeah, I'd also agree with that with Charlie. I think it was mentioned that in the season where basically everyone was targeted, because your name's Jillian, Charlie was the only one who was simultaneously both a threat and never targeted.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's giving him a little bit too much credit. I view Michelle and Charlie as equals. I think that they both played a very similar game. And I think that that's why this vote is going to be closer than I think, Ziggy, you think it will be. I think it could even tie.
Really? Now that will be exciting. Jillian deciding the winner. Oh my God. Please let that happen. Please.
That would be the defining moment of this season. That's the most peak Kuril Island fight.
Yeah. I mean, I really think it's going to be close because I think Michelle will underperform at this final tribal is number one. But also, I think Charlie has a lot he can claim. You know, I think he's got the immunity wins. I think he had good connections with everyone, and he really decided how a lot of votes went. Whereas Michelle played in the shadows. I think a lot of that was not intentional. I think she had to do that because at some point she was becoming too big of a target. So good on her for that. But I also think that might hurt her here. And but I agree with you. All of that aside, predictions aside, I do think Michelle would be an excellent winner and would be my preferred winner here. However, I think Charlie would be an equally good winner. And even thematically, I think it would be kind of cool to have a non-binary person win the gender-divided season. I just think that
would be pretty cool. I definitely like Charlie's game. Charlie's game was awesome. I mean, literally never a target all season. He was the kind of person that everyone wanted to bring to the end. He was seen as a non-threat, but he did push a lot of those votes. He was very self-aware. He was one of the few people that was like, oh, Reem is dangerous. He said that like really early on. And so like, it is cool to see someone who's like very game aware, very smart, make it to the end. But I do feel like he just made such a bad move at that final four, not taking Ron to the end, or at least try and fire. It was, I really was like shocked that he didn't attempt to get Michelle out there.
I think his reasoning was that if he split up his alliance at the very end, he probably thought he would risk losing all of the women's votes that he could potentially get. And then he would just lose to Jillian. I mean, that would be what I would think he was thinking, because his big thing was like, well, I'm planning on staying loyal, even though I want to take Ron. I think the move here is to just remain loyal to the alliance that I started with. And I think that's what he was thinking is, you know, maybe blindsiding someone and betraying someone that you were with all game right before the final is not the best move.
Can't relate.
Yeah, I know.
I do think there is a part where the women all were presuming Michelle to be the obvious front runner, and him not taking at least a shot at that is going to be seen as weak. And that's something Michelle can definitely pounce on.
Here's what Michelle did not do as well as Charlie. She did not build relationships like Charlie did, specifically across tribal lines. While I think all the women loved Michelle, and maybe some of the men, you know, I feel like Ron and Maddie had good relationships with Michelle. I don't think she made quite as tight of bonds as Charlie did. And I think that might come back to bite her, specifically with people like Eric, Chris, Randy, you know.
I presume Lauren would vote with them as well in that kind of clique.
Yeah, and I mean that could it would be interesting if Lauren costs Michelle the game, just because that would be karmatic on Michelle's part, because she really tossed aside Lauren early in the merge,
which I was so disappointed in.
And I think, you know, at the time we kind of blamed Lauren in some of the previous podcasts for flipping on the women, which we said was stupid, which it is stupid, but I don't know if that necessarily was her choice. I think she did that, again, as a disenfranchised person, not
when
feeling
you feel like you're on the outs throwing the Molotov cocktail.
Right. And really, I mean, she did form a very strong alliance with three of the other men that very well could have brought her to the end, and she was a big threat. So it wasn't a terrible move. We just saw the writing on the wall that this is not going to end well for her, you know?
Yeah, because going into Sunday, it did seem like, well, I'm not sure exactly the day it flipped because I wasn't watching over the weekend, but it was basically Ron and Randy in the middle, and they could have just as easily picked Chris, Eric, Lauren, where Chris wants Lauren in her final three, Eric wants Lauren in her final three, Lauren wants Lauren in her final three. She very easily wins in that case.
And I think, you know, it's interesting this season, there were simultaneously really great players, and even those really great players were also really bad. So there was this weird randomness to the season that we don't normally get, where, you know, someone on top like a Reem or a Susie might do something crazy and the next round really put themselves in a bad position. Like, For instance, Reem voting out Maddie that one round, that was really a lot of her doing, her and Michelle. And, it just wasn't smart. And I think that's the bigger picture is like, yes, I think a majority of this cast are very smart, very capable players, but they're so new to it that they didn't make great decisions consistently,
I do feel like maybe I'm jumping a little ahead, but I do feel like someone like Chris really capitalized on a lot of people's stupid decisions. Like, I feel like Chris was pointed as such a huge target really early in the game in the merge. And like, he was like, oh, let's go after Maddie. He's flip-flopping, but he knew like Maddie would be on the girls' side. People like, Randy, I feel like there's a lot of people who are making a lot of big mistakes and Chris kind of kept sliding by.
Right.
I feel like experience is definitely the reason that happened. I feel like and if he was a newbie, I feel like Chris might have gone like 12 for 11.
And Chris, for me, I think he was one of my, you said it in an earlier podcast that he's villain status this season. It's not like he was a bad guy. I think, he just, he had a lot of wrong opinions.
Targeting all the women, it's in a gender divided season. Yeah. It's never going to end up well for your ratings. Let's be honest.
Yeah. And I think really Chris was just frustrating as a character because it's like he really held on to those tribal lines far too long. And in a season like this, it's something we were trying to break away from. That being said, it was entertaining that he kept bringing that back into it. And I'm very happy with his boot and Ron's boot because we could be looking at a Chris, Ron, Charlie Final Three, which would, I think, really cheapen the season, or at least end on a bad note in terms of how the whole game went.
Yeah, like if it was Chris, Eric, and Ron. And the men just dominated, and that's why men are superior.
Yeah.
Plus,
I'm definitely happy.
They were just dicks, even, as much as I would have loved to see Reem make like a Final Five run, I think her winning out would have still been a little weird because, I don't know, there's just something about being that duplicitous that you kind of want to see that fall back on that person.
Yeah, like a David in the current season of Australian Survivor.
Yeah, like, you don't want to see the person who's
on top win,
right? And it more so than just being, nasty or whatever. It seems like there's no rhyme or reason a lot of times, and that's really where you run into a territory where you want the comeuppance,
Mm-hmm. I know. I was definitely happy. I was really happy with the Eric blindside. I really did enjoy watching Eric be blindside. Although I did love his character growth. I was really disappointed in him in the very beginning of the season. He didn't seem as active as everyone else. And then I feel like he became like maybe a cover star even. A comp threat. He was yelling at people. He was getting in fights. He was going men strong. There was a lot of entertaining aspects about our 8th placer that I loved.
Yeah, when he just openly became the dick of the season. That's why it's like, okay.
That's awesome. And I want to say, I don't even think I think he's better than we gave him credit for, not just with competitions, but also I think he was really effective in how he played the game. A lot of times these players would do these random ass plans, and Eric was pretty good about being like, no, we're going to do this. And then we just push that through. And really, that's what they needed because, you'd have like Ron, Randy, and Maddie throwing shit at the wall to see what sticks. And I'm like, I can't tell you. Ron never ceased to amaze me. He would come on 30 minutes before a challenge, plans would be set, and he would throw out the most random target. And nobody would bite ever. So it was just such a weird, he would go for the least likely person to flip something on and be like, I don't know, maybe we should just go for Reem. You want to do Reem? And then we start pushing Reem to everyone. And it's like Reem's in control of everything.
He did vote Reem out. To be fair, he did. He was one of the votes to vote Reem.
Like in an earlier round when she wasn't vulnerable or any player. He was king of showing up and going for target.
I agree with that. Just going back to Eric, another thing that was really underrated about him, one big move he made, I remember pre-merge, they were all going to vote Susie and he like swapped it because of an idol. And that was like a really big defining moment getting Crystal out. That was like all Eric, if I remember correctly. He flipped it like last minute. He's like, there might be an idol. But yeah, going back in order, rip in peace, Lauren. Very, very upset that Lauren went as well. She was a really fun character.
Just so there's a bit more thing to Eric, I think it would be interesting to for him to be in a season where, because it's very easy to write up his game by knowing that no woman votes for him at the end.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But it'd be interesting in a season where that isn't default the case.
Right. And, you know, I'm wondering, obviously it wasn't just us thinking that he was overtly misogynistic, because the women all said it too. I mean, he really rubbed them all the wrong way.
Yeah.
And he's kind of surprised by that in Ponderosa. Because I actually, he's probably a nice guy and none of that was intentional, but that's totally how it came across.
Yeah, I think a lot of it is definitely a language gap. A lot of it's definitely a culture gap. And a lot of it is he's on the Man Divided season and one of the main figures for Men Strong.
Right. Well, I think that's a big part of it. You know, his personality is very like cut and dry. This is the plan. Going back to even when he like grabbed immunity to get rid of Crystal, you know, or at the time he was going to get rid of Susie, I think, but they all flipped it on him on Ace. But that's just Eric's gameplay. You got to give the guy credit. He was not afraid to play the game, especially for someone who was less active, although he did step up his activity later. You know, he ended up being a really good character.
Mm-hmm. Oh, I liked it. I was worried at first, and he really stepped it up. A very, very good player. I love even, you know, despite him being a little mean to the girls, I thought it was pretty entertaining. And I think it's something you need on a season that's men versus women. It'd be really boring if they all got along. Oh,
Eric and Chris were the 80s rich kid villains in like every ski movie. You know, I mean, that's what you want in the men versus women season. You know, just total dicks, you know?
Yeah, I'm not sure how aware they were that they were owning those rules, but they definitely owned them.
Oh, I think completely unaware. I think they're going to be shocked after the season, how much hate they got from us. But, you know, I even had Devins reach out to me like a little bit upset about how he came across. Or how we were disappointed in his activity level. And I was like, look, dude, this is nothing personal. We're just enjoying watching you guys and we're commenting on what we see. You know, I was like, that doesn't mean we hate you as a person or, you know, we just hate the game that you play.
Exactly. We don't hate whatever Devin's real name is. We hate Devins.
Right. We hate Devins, the stranded player.
Yes.
Yeah. But anyway,
oh, Charlie just posted his final, by the way.
Right before the podcast? Or, I mean, right in the middle of the podcast? Brutal.
Well, that's the most Charlie thing ever. 3 minutes before it's due.
Is it due at 7? Or that's funny.
It's due at 7.
Can we talk about that? The vote?
Yeah, we can skip around. We'll come back to Lauren and Randy, but we got to talk about that while we're here. Yeah, so Charlie, every fucking tribal council would like vote the minute before it was due, which is legal, but is super annoying for me as a host because I have to make this shit. I have very little time to make the tribal councils, and they take about 10 minutes to make. So I try to start making them a little bit ahead, so you know they don't have to wait too long before I post the results. So like how every time I'd have to fucking wait for him to post who he was voting for, and of course at this last was it Final Four?
Final 5.
Final 5 where he missed
Final 5, that's right. So Final 5 comes around and he posts it was due at 8:35 and he posts at 8:36 in like 5 seconds. So he's like 5 seconds past the deadline. But of course, in Stranded, we have voting is a very hard rule. It's always been a sticking point. Like when we say a deadline, you have to make that deadline, whether it's an idle play or a challenge due date or a vote due. There have been players that go home because they did not make the deadline. So when that comes around, I mean, obviously we know there's going to be a revote, but hey, rules are rules. You didn't vote within the time frame. We got to call it. So the vote comes back. It's a tie, 2-2. Charlie, I think stupidly, admits that he just fucked up and, you know, posted past the deadline. I think he should just pretended like he did it on purpose, I think, you know.
Yeah. That's what I would have done, but I think considering that Charlie thinks he could win.
Do you think it was like it's going to be a big factor for the jury that he waited on that last one? They seemed kind of upset about that, right? Weren't they saying shit about him when he didn't vote? I think,
well, Reem was like a fucking pit bull when that happened. Just never voting for him. That was so stupid. You know, this is, I mean, really, and they're also kind of ignoring Jillian's rule break compared to that.
That is weird. They really haven't mentioned that.
Yeah, because I don't think they're considering Jillian anyway.
That's fair.
True.
That's a good valid point.
But you know what I'm saying? Like, they're making a bigger deal out of Charlie missing the voting deadline, which is not a rule break, by the way.
Yeah, because they're campaigning for Michelle.
True. But anyway, so, Reem held on to that and did not let go, that he missed the deadline. And I think really it was that they were like, oh man, that's a brilliant play. But then when they found out that he did it on accident, they were like, oh, fuck this guy, So I think had he just played it off or just not said anything would probably be the best move. It could have been anyone who didn't get their vote in,
Yeah. I don't really think it's Charlie's style of play to truly embrace the heel. Oh, I'm in the middle. Force me to choose. Make your case to me before the revote.
I will say, I think had he actually gone through with it after that and caused Ron and Jillian to go to Rocks, I think that's a pretty strong case for a final tribal council. I know that's not a smart move to get rid of Ron or Jillian, but
he did it anyway.
True.
He got rid of Ron anyway.
It would have been like a slam dunk, like, hey, look what I forced, and I had everyone's vote at the final 5. I don't know if it would have been a slam dunk, but he could have claimed that move.
Everything. Ha ha ha.
Yeah, of course that's not Charlie's character or MO.
I personally, I don't like when rules are bent to, or I know it's not a rule break, but I don't like when using that as a strategy, not voting as a strategy.
I got you.
But I do think it was a mistake to openly admit that he just fucked up. And he said he was looking for a quote, a mean quote or something. Didn't he say he was looking for a mean quote to say to Chris to admit that he'd betray him at any point, which I thought was horrible. I saw his confessional. He's like, I was sorry. I was looking for a quote in my confessional that said I was willing to betray Chris at any moment. Why would you? So not only did you cuck this man, you also wanted to put a really brutal quote on your voting parchment. I was like, okay.
Since Chris is right before this, this is that boot. Talk a little bit about Chris and Charlie's relationship, because they had almost a flirty thing going on all season, but they were in different alliances. And I think at some point they thought that was going to sway the other person's vote, that they had a really close, I don't know if it was flirty, but it was certainly very close relationship.
Yeah.
They definitely
the one time they really voted together was the Reem boot, correct?
Against Reem, or with Reem.
I'm confused with Randy.
Right, Randy. I think they didn't vote together on Randy. It was the only. I don't know if they ever voted together, except for no. I can't think of any time they voted together. Honestly,
yeah,
maybe the Maddie boot. The Maddie boot. I think that's it.
Yeah, I think it is one that was unanimous.
It's really weird that Lauren and Charlie kind of swapped roles in there, and right. Charlie was all team. I mean, he said team MILF, I think. Or team.
Yeah.
What is it? Mommy Alliance.
The Mommy Alliance. They also had a MILF Alliance, though. That was a separate thing. I think that included Reem.
Right.
But yeah, it was very interesting because Chris pre-merge, he said Charlie's going to be my number one ally. I love Charlie. I'm going to work with them. And then Charlie proved time and time again that they would not work together. And then Chris kept saying in his confessional, but Charlie's going to pull through at the very end. And he never did. So I don't know. It was a very odd relationship, but it was also two-sided because Charlie really never wanted to target Chris until the very end of the game. So
yeah,
I don't know.
I think that's part of why Chris was still around, to be honest.
Right.
So a comparison to that would be, I think, Jay and Adam from MVX. Oh,
okay, yeah, that makes sense. That is a good comparison. Exactly, it's opposite voting patterns, but they had a personal relationship. It was just very weird to watch.
And especially if Charlie is going to do a comeback, it is going to be reliant on the Chris, Eric, Lauren contingent.
Mm-hmm.
What do you mean a comeback?
Vote wise.
Oh, okay.
And from 4-1 to I guess 6-4 or 5-5.
I think he does have Eric and Chris already, and that's 2 votes that haven't come in because I know Devins is his only vote right now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then I think Lauren probably more likely to vote with them. But I think Lauren could easily vote with Michelle.
Yeah, I mean, this could come down to Randy, Maddie,
Who do you think Jillian? Who do you think Jillian's gonna vote for?
Jillian picks a win.
Yeah, I feel like I feel like she might pick Charlie. She talks a lot about Charlie in her confessional. I could see her picking Charlie as the winner.
I don't know. She's pretty close. She was in that MILF alliance with Jillian and with Reem and Michelle.
Mm-hmm.
So it's hard to tell with her because she really plays like she's closest to everyone. Even before a vote, you'd see her promising and swearing she was going to vote with someone, and you knew she wasn't. So it was it was confusing. But I think even the person knew that she wasn't going to vote with them, but she was just lying, and they were okay, whatever, Jillian.
At least in ISO, whoever she was closest to at the time was whoever spoke to her most recently.
Yeah, but I don't know if that's true, because I really do think she had these really strong loyalties to particularly Reem and Susie. Yeah, so through that relationship, she was very close to Michelle as well. So I don't know. I could see her going Michelle. I think, look, it's a toss-up. And I think it may very well come down to that. I mean, Charlie could get Devins, Chris, Eric, Lauren, and maybe Randy.
Randy, I really have no idea who they're going to vote for. I could see them voting Charlie. And then it could be a tie. You're right.
I don't think Jillian's getting any votes.
Unfortunately not. The dream is dead.
Yeah. Like, I think if I was on this jury, I would throw one to Jillian.
Just because at one point, if Michelle was going home and it was going to be Jillian, Charlie, and Ron, the jury had
a good chance. She had a good chance.
The jury had come together and said they were going to pull in India. And really, this season's like a spiritual successor to India. Like, it's very close in how it went down.
If it was who?
If they booted Michelle instead of booting Ron, Jillian had a really good shot of winning.
So that, to be fair, then maybe Charlie's move wasn't that bad then.
I don't know. I don't know, because I think he still gets like those. I think he still gets a lot of those people. It was really Reem pushing a lot for this Jillian winner thing. So maybe he had no shot. I don't know.
The Michelle coalition would have been the ones who voted for Reem.
Right. Yeah.
Depending on how this goes, maybe that's the first question for the reunion.
I would love to ask them if they're going to vote for Jillian. Yeah, if Jillian would have beaten Charlie and Ron. That is a great question. Or vice versa, if Charlie would have beaten Jillian and Ron.
I don't know. They talked about it for sure, which is scary. But they were like, let's just vote for Jillian to punish them for bringing her to the end, which is exactly what happened in India, which was fantastic.
The Jillian win.
I know. And but then I think some people are like, no, I don't think I can bring myself to actually do that. So, but you never know. I mean, if they were pissed off enough, they might.
Yes, for when we eventually all have to play Stranded 7th chances together.
Yeah. Yeah. That's just any All-Star season, to be fair.
7th chances, exactly. Yeah, it's definitely going to be a very close finale. I'm very excited to watch that.
Me in 2025 when I idle out Kelsey. To try to win on my 13th attempt.
I can't wait until Reem wins her 3rd season in 2055. That's going to be wild.
Yeah, so let's try to go back. Let's start going back to Lauren, because I do think we should talk about her. I think really for a long time we thought she was going to be a winner, and we would have been thrilled with that. I think a lot of people in the game thought that too, which is why she went home. I mean, she was it was such a unique situation for her, because like there were so many great women that she was aligned with at one time, but they all kind of turned their back on her in a big way. And the men at that time were very open to accepting her, which is crazy that like Eric and Chris were her tightest allies. Like in my mind, that doesn't compute. You know what I mean? Like, how is Lauren bonding with Eric? You know what I'm saying?
She's one of the bros.
She really was like, she's solidly one of them.
She had a very strange arc. At first she was blindsided at the first like real tribal council after the first 2 enacts were purged. And then she went into a swap where they were basically planning on throwing Reem under the bus. And then all the men on her swap tribe turned on each other. So they kind of made this alliance of circumstance. And Michelle and Lauren are like, all right, we'll keep Reem for a little bit. We'll turn on her later. Then the emerge hits and Michelle turns on Lauren out of almost nowhere. It felt like I was like, oh my God, why are you turning on your closest ally like this?
Yeah, it was super bizarre.
After that, she really went all in on the men. She was basically a men number. Not that she wasn't good. She was clearly a front runner to win. And she played a very good game. And I loved her confessionals. Absolutely amazing confessionals. She was very snarky, very funny character. But it was just quite a strange arc. It was very weird to watch.
Yeah, and I think my opinion of her shifted with that arc as well. Like, at first I was all in on Lauren, certainly in the early game. And then at the merge, I really thought it was a mistake for her to go with the men. So I was a little bit pissed off at Lauren because she was, at that time, like kind of a big reason why Aurora and Susie went back to back.
Yeah.
Which I was like, man, if she causes all the women to go home and then she gets voted off Cochrane style, that's going to be cool. That's going to be an issue.
To be fair, that didn't even seem to be the case. Like, even in Chris's confessional, he's saying, oh, I want Lauren in my final 3.
Right. People wanted her in the end. It was wild.
Yeah, it was certainly not a Cochrane situation, thankfully. And, once it became clear that it wasn't, I started to warm to her again. And then by the time she was voted off, we were like full on rooting for her to win,
Yeah. I think Lauren and Charlie were my 1 and 2 for winning this season at the end of last round.
And I think, I think that touchy subjects challenge was the cause of her demise because she got pinpointed as the biggest threat to win. Because I think if that didn't happen, I really don't think people saw her as the biggest threat to win. And I think that's part of why we didn't see her as the biggest threat to win either. I think, we kind of saw her as the equal to Charlie. And it's at that point when she became the biggest threat to win that Michelle's stock started to lower, which really benefited her. And she really played it smart because she purposely laid low during that round and subsequent rounds until she could get a solid alliance going. Because I think before that, everyone had Michelle on their targets because, Reem had just gone home and she was Reem's number 2. So it was interesting how that all flipped just because of the touchy subjects challenge.
The touchy subjects definitely got her good. It happens. It's definitely, it's part of the game. If you get labeled as a big threat, it's hard to shake that target. And I do agree. Michelle was definitely the benefactor of that by a long shot. I don't really see her staying if not for that touchy subjects thing, to be honest. I was happy with her though, even though she was sided with the alliance that we hated. I was happy with her overall, and I would have been really happy with her as a winner if it was like Chris, Lauren, and Eric. If Lauren swooped the jury, that'd be a pretty great ending too.
Yeah. In this entire cast, the person who, if I'm on Stranded season 47 with all of them, the person I'd be most afraid of on this cast is Lauren.
That's a pretty big statement.
I don't know if I agree with that.
Jillian's number 1, obviously.
Oh, well, yeah.
But I think in terms of where Lauren's position, getting out in the stage is what she showed a lot of potential. She definitely could have won this season, similar to me and Pharaoh, and even me and Allies. This is where she could make a massive run and become a legend.
But I think that speaks to how great this season is and how great this cast is, because I could say that for a lot of people. I could say that.
I'd be terrified of Reem the most. I'd be afraid to make eye contact with her.
Yeah,
I don't know.
Reem wouldn't be able to hide.
She scares the shit out of me. I wouldn't want to go up against Reem.
Even Charlie, I'd be afraid to go against. He just cut everyone. He didn't give a shit. He was like, he just murdered everyone.
You had players like Susie, Aurora, even some of the pre-mergers like Ace and Jackie and Crystal. They were really, like I said, there are a ton of great players, and I think that maybe that canceled itself out, and they all played chaotically because it's really super unpredictable. But really, I think when this is said and done, come Monday, I think we're going to look back on this season as one of our top 10 for sure.
Yeah, especially for all newbies.
Oh, yeah. It doesn't get much better than this. It does because there were better seasons, but this is among the best. Let's put it that way.
Like, when was the most recent all newbie season to be this good?
Sri Lanka was pretty good, right?
Sri Lanka was excellent in terms of drama, but it had a shit-tastic pre-merge. So
shit-tastic.
Yeah. I think this season combined the best parts of the last 3 newbie seasons, where, I think Sri Lanka had like all the drama you could possibly ask for. Turks had all the strategy, and then Morocco had all the characters. And I think this season had all 3 of those things throughout, The only thing this season will not have is a fantastic winner like Morocco had. I do think the winner will be good, but it's not going to be like a Ziggy level winner,
Well, yeah, Jacques, Ziggy, or myself, and Lucy back to back. It's hard to follow, but I still think Michelle's pretty awesome. A pretty good winner for a pretty good season compared to like the season I played on, which wasn't really super chaotic. I think it's a lot harder to pull off like a visible game, like maybe Charlie and Michelle played, and still get to the end. This definitely wasn't like 3 goats in the end. I really thought it was going to be like maybe like Eric, Ron, and Jillian as the final 3 or something like that.
Yeah. No, you're right.
But this is they definitely played a pretty strong game given the circumstances.
No, I think character-wise, there will be good winners regardless of who wins. Sure. I don't know that they're the best players of the whole cast. I think that they played the best game, but I wouldn't say that they're like, if I'm listing my top players of all time, they're not in the top. You know what I'm saying?
That's fair.
So the real winner of this season is your casting pool for season 37.
It's 37. Yeah. A great season for sure. Amazing cast. Another breakout star that I really loved. Cried for Stranded. Can we give a round of applause for Randy? Literally cried. Didn't he cry twice? I didn't get to watch all of his video confessionals. But didn't he cry a second time for Stranded? Did I make that up?
He was crying the round where he was booted because he saw the writing on the wall. I mean, I really love him as a character. Like, super. First of all, as a host, that's rewarding for me that I could impact someone like that just by throwing together this silly game that we all play. So like that makes everything worthwhile, is when someone gets so invested that it's a big deal to them. I think we should even have like a Crybaby award. Maybe Ziggy, you can be the benefactor of that award. Because every season, pretty much every season, someone will inevitably break down because it is emotional, and Stranded is a lot. Like, we talked about it preseason. Yeah. Like it's hard to describe, but it's very consuming. It's everything. It's like 5 hours of your day for a month. I mean, that's a lot, So
even even in ISO 4, which was I think my third time round, I had like a massive panic attack at a stage.
It's just hard. I mean, it's a lot. You make real friendships. You talk to these people. You get used to. And I think it's a lot of adrenaline going because there's such a short amount of time to get everything done that, it sucks you in. So I'm not calling out Randy for crying. Like, I think it's great. I think
I adore Randy. Like,
Randy was awesome. Randy, video confessionals are awesome. Amazing.
Randy for ISO 5. #.
Yeah, I mean, it showed his passion for the game. I don't think he played the best game this season. I think he deserved to go when he did. Who played, who played a perfect game?
Played with his heart.
There's very few people that play perfect games. So I think, he made Final 6. Yeah. That's fantastic.
Yeah, like it's where I got out in Pharaoh. There's a lot of good names at 6.
Calm down, Nate. Yeah.
I thought he played really excellent that pre-merge section, especially voting with the men, but still knowing about the idle play, passing off one of those votes really early on as someone else's vote when it was really his vote during the crystal blind side. He had a lot of really good plays. And then at the merge, I feel like the chaos just took over and he just went fucking crazy. He kept flipping back and forth. He was targeting people who was working with all game, like Susie. Like, that was fucking random.
Yeah.
He made a lot of like questionable moves, so I'm not shocked he went where he did. I agree.
Yeah, I mean, I think you hit the nail on the head. Like, pre-merge, he played very well to the point of like, I was assuming he would dominate the merge. Unfortunately, he just made terrible decisions. Like, I think, going all in with the men, I think was stupid. He wasn't in the position to have to pick a side. And I think he could have ridden, I don't want to say the Maddie train because he outlasted Maddie. Maddie fucked that up royally. But you know what I mean? Like, he totally could have ridden the middle a little bit longer and made better bonds on both sides. Whereas I think he kind of shit away his friendships on the women's side.
Yeah, he became something of like a jury goat, right? Which I was shocked to see because like him losing to people like Jillian or like Ron. Like, really? Come on.
Yeah, he's in the tier of people who could lose to Jillian.
Yeah, I know. I'm glad he was voted into the jury because I don't know if he could handle a Final 3. I think that would have really hit him hard if he thought he had played this great game and then in the finals, like, the jury shits all over him, which happened to Ziggy. But you know what I mean? Like, I don't know. I think it was appropriate that he went out in the merge and in the jury rather, and he was able to see that, like, okay, it is just a game. Like, yes, the people are shitting on you, but it's because of how you played. It's not because they hate you as a person, which is the same thing I would tell people listening to this podcast. It helps you get some perspective. And I think I always say the jury is the most cathartic part of the game because you get to vent at someone the entire time. It's fantastic.
Yeah, which I guess it also depends on the jury, I think. Like, at least as a perpetual juror. I think Farrah was very cathartic. Isa was amazingly, because I just realized, I basically had this one and fucked it up. Yeah. And I think Allies was just, I was just horrible the entire time.
Oh, I wouldn't go that far. I mean, look, to be fair, Allies was
just a horrible jury. No one felt healthy.
No, but it was like, the players in it were fantastic. Like, those are some of the best players in Stranded. So, I mean,
it's one of the best seasons.
Yeah, I agree.
And even then, like, I'm not disappointed in my Allies game. I got third. I think I was, in terms of equity, there was a point where I almost won, I think.
Yes, I would agree.
That vote goes differently, I think I win.
Right. But back to this season, Nate. No.
I know myself. My favorite topic. Chris.
I feel like we talked about him, but I know there's a lot of mixed opinions. I really did like Chris. I thought he was really good to watch all season. He was a good strategist, even though he was in the minority for I feel like he only voted correctly 2 or 3 times the entire season.
True. That was like a running gag,
which is wild. I remember the very first one. Not the first merge, the Final 14 half merge boot. He voted incorrectly on purpose, and I was like, oh, maybe this is something he's gonna do. But then it was just all unintentional over and over and over again.
Yeah,
for I think 8 boots in a row.
Chris peaked at the merge. He redeemed himself from the awful Atlasova saga, and then he immediately shit that away. And the thing is, I really do think in the right circumstance, Chris is a fantastic player. Probably we don't know because we didn't see that. But I think in this situation, he decided to play it loyal, which didn't necessarily work out too bad for him. So I think, maybe he was playing the best hands he was dealt. Unfortunately, that did not make him very popular with us.
Yeah. There is another version of this season where Ron and Randy side with Chris, Lauren, and Eric, and he's probably the winner.
Or Lauren's the winner. But
bringing Lauren to the end is why he wins. But
he did want to bring Lauren to the end, so I can't say he's the best player, but I do think he had a lot of. I did enjoy him a lot more than maybe other people. I thought he was fun to watch. I do love someone that we love to hate, or someone that's gonna get us angry. Anyone controversial, I do love to see, and I thought Chris was a little controversial.
I'm trying to think who wins. Eric, Randy, Ron.
Eric, Randy, Ron. Maybe Ron. Honestly, Ron or Eric. I don't think Randy wins against anyone, unfortunately.
Yeah.
So I went back and looked, and Chris only voted correctly twice in the merge. He voted for Susie.
Susie and Maddie.
Susie and Maddie. Whoa. So that's the most Chris thing ever. But interestingly, the last 3 tribal councils, aside from when he voted for Ron, he voted for Michelle every time. I think that's. And I really don't think he's going to vote for Michelle to win. There's just some hate boner between the two. I don't think that they talked much in the game.
They didn't. I think he was even saying he thought Michelle would be one of the easiest boots out of or easiest people to beat in the final 5, but he'd rather go to the end with Charlie or something stupid like that.
Right. And all of the men said that, which is not correct, but also I think speaks to Michelle's poor gameplay with the men.
Yeah. I definitely think you're right there. I think she did have some trouble with some of the men, which, it's interesting that the winner of a chaotic, not really tribal line season could be someone who really focused on those tribal lines. That is a weird thought, but I'd still be happy with Michelle win.
Yeah. Oh yeah. No, I agree. I'm hoping for a Michelle win. I think
Michelle win is optimal.
I'm warming up to a Charlie win. The more actually we're talking about him, he's pretty good too. I mean, he didn't vote wrong, or no, he did vote wrong. Sorry, but he didn't get any votes all game. Immunity run at the end, pretty flashy.
I don't think there's a bad winner in the final 3. I think Jillian would be hilarious. I think Charlie would be a good winner, and I think Michelle would be a good winner. So really, I think Michelle and Charlie are kind of even. I just think Michelle had a better personality for viewing purposes. That would be the reason why we're rooting for her. And she's a woman. So we were kind of rooting for the women to do well this season. But other than that, I mean, I think Michelle and Charlie are pretty comparable players.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's talk about Ron.
Oh, also, just so we can finish on Chris, does he realize that the women are actually all women?
I don't think he knows yet. Or wait, no, did we tell him? I think we actually said something about it in jury, actually, unfortunately. I think something was said about it in jury. So he might know. I can't remember.
Who told him? I'm going to kill him.
I vaguely remember one of the first jurors. Oh, no, actually, I'm sorry. I'm being stupid. That was during the pre-merge. They told the people in Losers Lounge that they were men and women. I'm sorry. So then, they have no idea. So that will be a fun reveal.
Yeah,
I'm excited for that.
He probably still won't believe it, which to be is fair. I mean, that's fair. But they may not be.
I kind of want to go in Chris's I kind of want to go in everyone's confession. I'll be like, "Oh, hi, winner pick. Here's one question. I want to see this so I can accurately judge your game."
We have to talk about your winner pick confessionals because that has really impacted the season.
Do they still not know? Do the jurors know that you picked everyone as a winner pick? Or
I think someone mentioned that Nate believed in me and that, which is entirely ignored.
I just loved when some 2 or 3 people after they got booted, they're like, "I'm sorry, I let Nate down." I was like, "What are you?" I was like, "Come on."
Who the fuck is Nate? Where's he here? No.
They're intimidated by my number of badges.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Well, they should
something to fear. They should have something to fear.
Yeah, and I just got the ISO one, so.
Oh wow.
I'm sure you're owed some. I don't know. I got to go through and revamp the badges. Anyway, so let's talk about Ron. Oh, Ron. I had hoped, I kept saying over and over again, I really wanted him to become this huge train wreck. And I think in the end he did, but not in the way that I thought he would. He
was so odd in so many ways. I mean, you said this very early in the podcast, like in the earlier podcasts. He would just come on for like an hour and a half a day, and he would just be like, let's target the most random person we can possibly target. And then he'd just throw out their name to everyone, and then everyone would just be like, LOL, it's just Ron. We're just going to let him keep sliding by. He's such a joke at this point. And I do think that benefited him in some way. It definitely helped him get deep in the game. If he was a more serious player, I could see him getting booted super early for that sloppy gameplay. But I do think his like lack of activity, his lack of being taken seriously definitely helped him get very far in this game.
Yeah, I would say, I refer to him as a chaos agent or chaos merchant because, he's not someone who like purposely caused chaos. He would just come on and say some ignorant shit and then leave. And then, everyone would be like, who are we voting for? To put it into perspective, he voted for Jillian at his last tribal council, like right before the vote decided to try to change it with Charlie instead of targeting the obvious Michelle. Of course he did that. You know what I mean? Like that's the most Ron thing to ever happen.
To kind of defend Ron in that, I think Jillian made it very clear he was voting for him while Michelle did not, so that's the way of getting a 3-1.
That's fair. I think he did say something like he was banking for like a 2-1-1 even. Which I don't know why he thought that would happen.
Don't defend Ron here. I mean, come on.
I did like some of the things Ron did.
I'll defend when people are up against the wall with nothing else to fight, because there's no way that Charlie was.
Let me put it this way: I'm going to sum Ron up. He was not what he promised me, which was a huge train wreck that would go out of the game in a blaze of glory, which is what I needed from Ron. Like, when I'm looking at who to bring back and who I think would make an interesting second go, maybe Ron would, but he has not proven that to me yet. And anyone else that did what Ron did throughout the game, I would probably be inclined to bring them back immediately. But because he was so inactive and almost like unaware of the chaos he was trying to cause, I just don't have that urge to like see Ron again as quickly as possible.
Yeah, he was inconsistent.
I think he's going to age well. I think he's going to be the kind of person you're going to be like, you know what? I miss some of Ron's antics. I think he could be someone you remember fondly. But right now I'm kind of like, he was okay.
Yeah. So
I don't know why they didn't bring him to the end.
So for 37 All-Stars, but for 45, Battle of the Rons.
Yeah. Would you stop making fun of my All-Stars? You've beaten that joke to death. It's a dead horse.
I mean, in my opinion, I'll be 100% honest. I feel like everyone, maybe sans one person who got 10th, should be brought back at least one time. I thought everyone was really good this season. Everyone really came out of their shell. And I really did love everyone. Like even Jillian, who's a massive goat, I thought was hilarious all season. Yeah. I could watch her play 10 times.
You don't want to see Maddie again?
Wait, I thought Devins came in 10. Hold on.
Devins came 11.
That's awkward. I liked Maddie. Okay, well,
the entire merge tribe minus Devins, I say they all delivered.
I will say this in Devins' defense, because I do feel bad because he reached out to me like upset about how much we beat up on him. But apparently he had like some serious shit going on at this time. And he was like, had I known I needed to be around that much, I would have passed until I had more time. So that being said, maybe in another world where Devins has more time, he could actually deliver something very entertaining. We don't know. So
he did flip on the men pre-merge. That was pretty exciting.
Yeah.
I'll give him that. I'll give Devins the benefit of the doubt of maybe this was bad timing for Devins, and I will put him in the same. I'll put him in the same category as Ron, where, maybe he's someone that will grow on us by virtue of like hanging around, being active, and potentially playing in a future game that he delivers on.
Yeah, it's valid.
Like an ISO, whatever.
Yeah, so this is our apology tour for Devins 2020.
Yeah, because even if you compare to like on Pharaoh, there was Rebecca made very far. There was like, and even Penner wasn't active till like the final 10, and Penner won that season.
And it became like one of our best winners.
Yeah.
But not because of Pharaoh.
Yeah, not because of Pharaoh. Because of his far runs in other seasons.
Right. So, look, people go from, one of our best winners.
0 to hero.
Best characters is Cochran, who in his first season was so unbelievably bad and boring. That the only reason he came back is because it was a blood versus water season and he knew Vetus, and Vetus was incredible. So we took a shot on Cochran coming back, and he fucking delivered in spades. So, a lot of it's how much you want it and how much you learn from this. So all those players that want me to bring them back, fucking deliver for me next time. No.
And this is everyone who doesn't think they're going to return. As someone who I was dull in Pharaoh, stay active, stay alive, and you'll get high-key get because I think this season's going to get a lot of returnee slots. You'll get someone can't make it last minute replacement role. And then you can truly step up.
I think this season was more about I would say Morocco was our blueprint on how to cast and how to run a season, because I think it was our best production level that we've had. And I think this season is the actual house that we built. And so I think for number one, I'm going to be doing more frequent seasons.
Wow. Okay. How often do you usually do seasons? Like twice a year, or 3 times a year?
Well, lately it had become, I used to do 4 times a year. And lately it's gone from 4 to 3 to 2. I think it'll get at least back up to 3, and also try to do 2 isolated seasons a year. But really, I think now I have the template for how I want to cast. This is the ultimate cast that I've put together. And I really think Morocco was very close to it. It just didn't pan out. But now I think we have the formula down. So I think going forward, we'll be able to quickly replicate that. And I'm excited because I think after this, I want to do another newbie season. And if we get the same level of cast, which is seemingly impossible, so I don't want to put that out there, but I think if we could grow very quickly, I think if we keep pushing out all these amazing casts, that I think will become very active. So I'm excited about the future of Stranded.
For sure. I've definitely been enjoying these newbie seasons. I'm very excited for them to all the community. I think a lot of people are going to fit in very well. A lot of snarky individuals, a lot of mean individuals. I'm excited to see if we're going to have a rematch, little mini on Discord. If we have a rematch with Reem, oh my god, I'm so excited.
Oh yeah, man,
I can't wait to be Reem's final 2 goat on rematch next.
I think we should have learned our lesson. I think we've learned our lesson after Morocco ended of how not to keep people in the community. So don't do an immediate rematch. No, I think if we do, I think we'll probably do a rematch, but I think also immediately going into another season planning. Immediately after the season, I know Nofo's lining up isolated 5. So the plan would be to get people involved in lurking as quickly as possible.
For sure. I'd love to see a lot of these people, especially, some of the few pre-mergers that we've had, like Jackie and War Dog, definitely stuck around for longer than I thought, especially how early they went. So
War Dog even commented during this podcast.
Did he? Oh shit!
He was like, "What is this?" I mean, man, this cast is awesome. The jury is so active. I can't imagine those people sticking around the Discord all the time. I don't know if they'll keep that level up, but I think even if it's cut in a third, it would still be amazing.
I also think with people being a bit older, they might have real jobs.
All those people have real jobs, but they still manage to play this much more than they should. So I feel like lurking on a Discord is nothing,
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, fair. And I guess that's what the true next steps are, making a strong lurker community.
Yeah, I think building this to the point of, an extended stranded universe. I don't know. No, I think getting the community in shape to bring in new people and build it is where it's going to go. So let's just wrap up the season. The season's been fantastic. It's one of my favorites. It's the best newbie season in a very long time. Probably going back to Pharaoh. It's really been great. And I think every season I get attached to the players, but I think this one more than most. I think I've really invested in these people, and I really like all of them as people and as characters. So very much looking forward to getting to meet all of them.
Yeah.
And see how they do in future seasons and everything else. So
yeah, I want to see the arcs of these people. I want to actually get to know these people. I want them. If you're on this season, slide in my DMs.
Yeah, Nate would like a bio.
I'd like Lauren to slide in my DM.
Yeah, Nate's looking for.
If you're rich, definitely slide in my DMs.
Yeah, hit him up on Tinder.
Please, no.
No, we've had enough stranded romance. I think.
Why one gives me Caitlin Bennett vibes?
How long has Nofo been here? What the hell?
Oh, I'm sorry. I've been busy with something.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Thanks. All right. Is that it? Are we on closing thoughts? What are we just trying to hit on?
If you were on the season, even if you're Devons, we adore you.
Unless you pooped your pants at a frat party like Lauren.
Lauren did what?
I'm saying because she reminds me of Caitlin Bennett. I don't like her.
Oh, I thought you were serious. I was like, what the hell? I was like, what? Why did you do that? And what confessional was that?
I'm starting that rumor. Lauren.
Lauren is IRL Caitlin Bennett.
Stop. I do have to mention. Shout out to Lauren's drunken mimosa night, which was hilarious when her and Charlie decided to drink mimosas, and there was this mad scramble. It's the point where she was just like agreeing to everyone, like not really taking it seriously. It was hilarious.
Which I've already well, to be fair, we're getting like a week off for coronavirus, so I'm taking Tuesday off with the anticipation that this is just going to last till 6 a.m.
Oh, it will. Don't worry.
So 11 a.m. my time.
All right, well, that's going to do it for me. I'm going to close this podcast. Thanks for joining us.
I can't wait to demolish everyone on Jackbox. Every single one of you.
Oh, true.
I guess we should do who everyone thinks should win. I think it'll be very close, but I do think Michelle will win.
I think Michelle's going to win as well.
I'd put odds 730 Michelle.
I think Jillian should win.
Thank you, Nofo.
In your heart, Jillian is the winner.
Yeah,
in all of our hearts, Jillian's the winner.
I'll tell you this: if Reem gets Player of the Season, I think we should give the Valentine Award to Jillian.
I think you should do a fake out where you give Jillian Player of the Season.
Oh, and then say, "Oh, sorry, I read the wrong name."
Yeah.
Little Steve Harvey.
Yes.
But yeah, that's closing thoughts. Love the final three. Very entertaining. Very good players.
Yeah.
Rooting for them all. I hope they find success.
Yeah, I do want to say I love the final 13, but that's probably being rude to whoever's 14th, who I probably also love.
It was Marcus. You're fine.
Yeah, okay, yeah.
But yeah, I'm going to head out. But thank you for having us, Poody. Always good to podcast.
Yeah.
Awesome.
It's always good to have an involved role. I'm expecting a host avatar next season. For people who are just lurkers, but with host privileges.
The people just log in every other day to say who got voted out.
Yeah.
And it happens. I'm not shocked. Oh well.